Who do you think the Jets should target in free agency?
The popular ones, obviously, the Allen Robinsons, the Joe Thuney's. Edge rush is kind of up in the air. It's not really a deep edge rush free agency class. Personally, I don't think this will happen because the comments y'all have been going crazy today. So let me just preface this by saying I'm not saying this is going to happen, but I would prefer to see Chris Godwin. I don't think he's going to go anywhere out of Tampa. I think after winning the Super Bowl, I think they're going to make a run for another. But I'd love to see Chris Godwin because I believe that he's 3 years younger than Allen Robinson first and foremost, and he can be every bit as good. So I think he's a legit number one, and I think that we could get him for about $8 million cheaper per year. I still like Thuney. Edge, I really like Yannick Ngakoue. I think he dealt with a lot, and I've said it before on this show, he's dealt with a lot being shuffled. He played for 2 different teams in 2020, so that's quite a bit to undertake and still keep your head in the game, for 8 or 9 sacks last year. So I like Yannick, and I don't think he's going to have any delusions of him getting 20 plus million a year. So I'd really like to see somebody like that. Let's see who else is here. Another one, like if I would be willing to spend the money 100% on Shaq Barrett, but again, probably not going anywhere. That Tampa Bay defense is pretty stacked. So looks like T.Y. Hilton is going to be an undrafted free agent. That could be something. He's a little bit older, but he's got that leadership that I like. I think there's a lot of intangibles that could come with that. I still like Richard Sherman for the leadership aspect. Shift him to a free safety or a nickel corner role. I think he'd be great in the slot. There's a bunch of them out there. And Ndamukong Suh, I hate that guy. So I think he should just get out of the NFL. I think he's a cheap player, and I never want to see him play again.
He just got a ring. He's living.
Yeah. You can go now. You got your ring.
Right.
You can go. There's a bunch that, like, I'm trying to look at some of the guys that are not really there. Here's one that nobody's going to talk about. We're going to be making moves at quarterback, so I like Tyrod Taylor for about $6 million a year as a backup.
Not bad at all.
I mean, all these guys are unrestricted as well. So, Jason McCourty, he's going to be. Again, I'm looking at these older guys for a reason, folks, because
locker room stuff.
When you plug in, they may not be the elite player that they were 4 or 5 years ago, but when you plug these leadership roles in, the Richard Shermans, even JJ Watt, when you plug these guys in at these key positions, a cornerback, an edge rush, defensive end, so that front seven, when you plug a nice wide receiver in, when you plug an older offensive lineman in that can still play. These guys take control of that particular room, of that wide receiver room, of that O-line room, and they spread that type of leadership to the rest of the squad. So you plug those guys in at key positions, and you're building the culture. You want to build the winning culture with guys that have been there, with guys that have been good human beings, and that's what builds the team fundamentally. So yes, between the numbers, you want the talent, obviously, but you also need those intangibles. You need the leadership roles. You need the guys who understand how the game works, and they realize that they're not, they're the third year player anymore at the top of their game. So they want to spread that. They want to leave their legacy and their mark. Hey, Bryce Hall is doing great because I Richard Sherman, taught him what to do in the defensive backfield. Like, that's what we need. So those are some of the guys that I really like.
True. I want to piggyback off of that specifically because I personally was kind of looking at some of the older guys as well, and because I think that adding veteran presence on the edge, adding veteran presence in the cornerback room, those things are immediately impactful for growth. Mm-hmm. Even though I think that offensive line specifically is where we really need to kind of focus money on studs. Right. And if I'm just going to throw out some names, because I was thinking Justin Houston is going to be a free agent if we're talking about edge rusher. I think Melvin Ingram is going to be available via free agency. And I mean, I know he's getting longer in the tooth, but I still think that the guy can actually get to the quarterback, and adding that actually takes a little bit of pressure off what Quentin Williams and what um, John Franklin Myers are doing on the interior. Not to mention the fact that we're going to be trying to get rid of Henry Anderson here, and I think that Melvin Ingram could be had for much cheaper than what it is that we would be looking to pay Henry Anderson. Beyond all of that, the offensive line to me is extremely interesting because there are quite a few names, right? The names are popping right now. I think we saw our story earlier, just a couple of weeks ago. We were talking about Corey Linsley. And Jim, if I remember correctly, I think the guy's a stud, man. He would be a monster addition, and that also gives us a lot more flexibility because McGovern is still under contract. He can play guard if necessary, and I think when you add a veteran presence like just maybe bumping McGovern to guard, I think you're talking about not just adding a guy, but adding really solid veteran presence to a line that really kind of needs it. And we also, we kind of kicked around George Fant earlier and how, serviceable he's been. I would actually say maybe a little bit better than serviceable, to be perfectly honest with you.
Sure.
But I wouldn't say that he is the most definite answer. So I think that we addressed that in the draft. Also, if we're not throwing a brick of cash at Joe Thuney, we're making a mistake. So I mean, look, there are guys, and I just want to preface this by saying my thought process is I'm going into this saying we're really not sure what to expect because we haven't really seen it in effect, here. I mean, we know what these guys bring in, we know what their histories bring in. When it comes to Saleh and the D coordinator that just came from Atlanta, we kind of know a little bit about what they're doing, but we don't know what they're going to do with this personnel here and what these guys are going to be able to bring to the table. No more Jordan Jenkins. Again, we're going to need some more linebackers. We're going to need some more, presence on the outside. So, look, there are a lot of names that are up in the air. I'm really interested because I do have as much faith in Joe Douglas and Rex Hogan and those guys as talent evaluators to think that there's probably going to be some names that we don't expect thrown in the mix here coming up within the next few weeks. But the end result, we'll see how it works out. I personally was pissed off at the Ryan Khalil thing. You know what I'm saying? I know why he did what it is that he did. I personally just didn't think it was a good idea, and it ended up being right because Khalil was a horrible acquisition. A guy we pulled off the couch, who's now his remote thumb is probably the most swole part on his body. So, what we're doing right now is going to be interesting to see because again, we saw what he did in the draft. We saw the self scouting and the not being overzealous when it comes to adding free agents here. But this is a season where his mark is going to need to be made. I'm interested in seeing what Joe Douglas is going to do because that gives us a lot more insight into what to expect going forward, knowing that these guys that he's going to bring in are going to be his guys. They're going to be the ones that he chose, the ones that he feels are going to have the most impact on this roster, this situation, this city. So, I'm really excited about what it is that we're going to see. The names in particular, I could throw out a couple that I like, just like I did, but, we'll see how it is. We'll see how it goes. CJ, where you at?
All right, here's where I'm at. 3 guys that I want off the bat, and I'm going to give you my top 3 in no specific order. Allen Robinson for wide receiver. I think that he could come in here and he could take care of business. I think regardless of whoever the quarterback is, I think that he could definitely come in here along with Denzel Mims, along with Jamison Crowder. Hopefully Lawrence Cager gets some run. And he breaks his way onto the starting wide receiver roster. I think that we can definitely add to the arsenal of weapons that we can get here. Now, offensive lineman I have my eye on. First guy is going to be Corey Linsley, the center out of Green Bay. The Jets have been linked to him. I think he would actually be a very good person to put in there. You get rid of Connor McGovern, whether you kind of exercise the option on his contract or whether you slide him over or whatever. But, you get Lindley in there at center, you got yourself a good linchpin for at least another 3-4 years, possibly 5 if he can keep himself healthy, which will also give you the opportunity to be able to go and draft a couple of guys to be understudies to him where they can actually learn underneath and create some offensive line depth, which is something the New York Jets have lacked for probably close to the last decade. That being said, another person that I would go after, of course, Joe Thuney. That's provided that he's going to hit free agency, because there is a possibility that he could get extended with New England long term, if that's the direction they decide to go, or Bill Belichick could just do a Bill Belichick, and maybe he thinks that Joe Thuney's skills are declining and may just decide to cut him loose. After all, Joe Thuney will be able to command a pretty penny on the market, and if he does hit the free agency market and the Patriots do not franchise tag him, then I definitely expect Joe Douglas and company to be standing there with the checkbook to procure Joe Thuney's services. That being said, you'll have 3/5 of your offensive line already taken care of, in addition with Mekhi Becton. You could rotate some guys in and out. There are some other depth guys that are currently there. You're definitely going to part ways with Alex Lewis. You're definitely going to part ways with
Van Roten.
Van Roten. So there are some other players which the Jets could decide to part ways with. So there's a lot of other things over there that I think personally, in my opinion, if you really want to rebuild the offensive line and you really want to make a dent, we kind of have to take a page. And I hope Ryan Thomas is listening. We need to take a page out of the Buffalo Bills playbook, which is go out there and you rebuild the offensive line. You go out there and you get some free agents, build up some rookies, create the depth to go and to rebuild that offensive line. Now, that being said, that also still opens up more options for you at quarterback. You could roll with Sam, and this is actually a comment that I want to direct at Jimmy. Adam Greenberg had chimed in regards to another argument for keeping Sam Darnold. You don't have to extend him. He's ours for 2 more years. Is that correct?
No.
Okay.
You have to make the decision on the right now. Option. You would have to make the decision on his 5th-year option going into this season. So you can say no, and he'll play 2021, and then you have to either extend him or he goes to free agency. The problem with that is he loses all value in a trade.
Okay. All right, so now, if you pick up he also continues to say, if you pick up the fifth year option, it's $5 million this year and $20 the next. That's $12.5 million a year. Wasting that 2 pick on a quarterback when we could end up with a ton of picks, moving back 4 or 5 spots in the draft, get a blue chip with our cap, other teams in cap trouble build for him. Give him more than 1 second to get through progressions. Let Saleh and his staff do his job. Sorry, I get it if no one is interested, but a quarter of the league is. That tells me a lot.
Let me chime in on this, because I think when you put it out in terms of the numbers, that's funny math to just say you're averaging 12 whatever a year. We're talking about paying a guy who legitimately could end up being a scrub $20 million a year, and we're looking at Deshaun Watson, who is again top 3, top 4, however it is that you want to consider in the league, who's markedly less than what it is that you would expect to pay for a franchise caliber quarterback.
$11 million cap hit for 2021 if we got
exactly. But I mean, even if you want to go even beyond that, because I think that his point is that we're talking about this year and next also when you consider what the 5th-year option looks like. And I know Deshaun, what is it not even 31 the year after? If I'm thinking my numbers are close.
It'll be 11. It goes 11, 32, 37.
32. That's what I was. Okay.
No. Sorry. 11, 35, 37, 32, 32.
Okay. I was wondering, was it 35, 30? Okay. I thought it was 32. Excuse me. But even if you're talking about getting, a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback,
sure, for
again what amounts to be 20 a season. So no, I get it. Everybody likes Sam. I like Sam myself, and I said it myself. I like Sam too. Sam is just not a good enough quarterback to take us where it is that we need. And even with it, the differences in what it is that we are expecting in the remainder of the team, I would not put him ahead of actually. Look, just at this point, the silver bullet is Deshaun Watson. We saw what Deshaun Watson did on a horrible team. Still Pro Bowl caliber play. Yep. So, I mean, just imagine putting a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback on a rapidly improving team with weapons, with smart, intelligent coaching, and with a head and with an owner who is legitimately looking like he's trying to get out of the way.